business on b2bwr.ca, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation. This is a production of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce and the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, focused on business and the impacts of our politics on and for business. I'm Ian McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined by my partner in crime and co-host, Greg DeRocher, President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. Lots to get to, Greg, but let's get on with the show so we can kind of give the backdrop and how we got to where we got to. I guess the thing is, this is our, I would just say this is our second chapter in life, because for 16 and a half years we had some great guests. We talked about things that were important for business.
We did over 700 shows.
Ian. Yeah, over 700 shows on 570 News. But we'll come back to that in a second. But what we have is some of our favorite people. Next week we're going to be back. We're going to have Charlene Hoffbauer from the Workforce Planning Board. JD's back from holidays. Bella Mons from the Ottawa Bureau Chief for La Presse. We're going to have our friends from the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation to tell the important stories of the hospital and how they care for people. So we're going to be back to kind of doing some of those familiar things that people have come to expect. And all on our new platform, b2bwr.ca. Encourage everyone to go onto that website. It'll tell you how and where, every time we drop a show, that you can find it in the place that's most comfortable for you. So it's a new chapter for us, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well, Ian, because I think now we're not constricted with just the listening audience of one particular channel and on the AM dial.
Yeah,
and 1 hour of the week, we're now open to get our message to businesses right across the region of Waterloo and beyond. On a 24/7 basis. And I think this is really exciting for you and I. And maybe, sometimes I'm always the eternal optimist, and I think you are. I think if you're going to run a Chamber of Commerce, you kind of have to be an eternal optimist. But, what we have always found through our experiences is that when one door closes, another door opens. And oftentimes that opportunity of going through that door is really the signal of success. It's what entrepreneurs do. They take those chances and those risks, and they look at those opportunities when that door closes. And I think this is a perfect example. It's probably the best thing that could happen for our show, because it gives us the opportunity to really broaden our wings and our approach to getting information out to our audience. So I'm really excited about that. I am very disappointed in Rogers Radio canceling 570 and Ian, you and I haven't been notified. So we had a show for 16 and a half years that we did over 700 episodes, and we have yet to be contacted by Rogers to say, by the way, your show's canceled because we shut the radio station down.
Well, it's a classic, and speaking of one door closing and another opening, while we had the ultimate close of door when they just we found out with the news release that the station had been closed and the license had been returned, etc. So I agree. I mean, it's hard to imagine. I don't think there's a good way to do this, but how they did it was. It was not a master class in
communication,
or letting the folks that have been loyal audience to you at least give some heads up. And I feel badly for, yes, our show was canceled, but this was this has been a big part of us telling the business stories and the community stories for a long time. But I feel bad for the people that we worked with. Mike Farwell.
I feel bad for the people that were actually paid to do this.
Exactly.
Right?
No, but they become friends of ours, producers. And you think about the people, Luke Schultz, who was our producer for a period of time. Mike Farwell's been on the show and been a great supporter of ours. They weren't treated with much class or much dignity, and that's really unfortunate. But already we're seeing some of those folks landing on their feet. And the fact is, I think one of the reasons that we wanted to do this show, and we started not long after I started at the Chambers,
Yep.
to tell business stories more
Yep.
broadly to the community outside of the chamber network. And I think those are really important things for us to do.
I think what, and I certainly the entrepreneur understands that they're busy doing their widgets every single day of the week. They need somebody that can collect the information and disseminate the information to them. And we found actually, and I think Luke Schultz, who was formerly our producer for many years, kind of said it best in a post that he had where he talked about us, and he said, all of the great experiences that he had, and all of the important things that 570 provided for their listeners. And one of them that he pointed out was our show during COVID, where we
Yeah.
were keeping people informed and our businesses informed on, the rules, the regulations, the optimism to keep
Programs that
those
were
everyday
coming. And
spirits. Yes, and I think that was really what kind of disappointed you and I right in the very beginning. How are we going to keep the momentum of giving that valued information to our audience that they've come to kind of expect? Because after 16 and a half years, you don't think it's ever going to go away.
mm,
It's always going to be there, but I think this is going to be a great opportunity for us. We're going to have lots of fun, that's for sure. It's still going to be a clean family show, but
I argued against it. I wanted to go the Sirius FM version, but I can keep it clean. I'll keep it. It's a
yeah,
family show. We're going to keep it
yeah,
clean.
yeah,
But
yeah,
in some respects, some things will change, and I think for the better, allow us more flexibility to have different
yeah.
people on and tell
Well,
stories.
well, a lot of people don't know that we sometimes got kind of slapped on the wrist when we would have. I
Yeah,
remember we had John Tory on. He
yeah.
was he was then a disc jockey for 1010 radio in Toronto. He was
I think
actually
that
the
was our
very
first.
first guest.
That was our first show,
Yeah,
and he
our
was a
first
friend
show.
of mine. And we had him on, and they said,
Yeah,
you had someone on who was on a competing radio station. I said, yeah, but he was the leader of the Conservative Party. That's why he was on, not that he was a radio show. So
yeah.
yeah, we learned along the way.
Yeah, but now we're not constricted by that, so we can get whoever we want, whenever we want, however we want, and we will continue to do that because we've had some great guests, and
Yeah.
we're going to continue to have those great guests on the show, and so people know, go to b2bwr.ca. That's where you're going to find all the information on the show, where you can listen to it in other means, but you're going to be able to listen to it right on b2b.wr.ca as well. So we know our sponsors are really excited about this. They're looking for the fact that we can create a bigger, broader opportunity for them as well. But I do want to advise everybody, Ian, that uh, they've listened to us on air for 16 and a half years. They've
Yeah.
heard our voices and they have
Yeah.
never seen our faces.
Oh
But
yeah, God.
but
Yeah,
but
we
coming
made it.
down the path.
Yeah, no, we've made this a virtue because we weren't on TV of saying that we have faces for radio.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that is still true, but in the modern age, we're going to have to use all the technology at our
Yeah.
disposal. One of those is to have this available with some video,
Yeah.
but with some tremendous software work to make us at least, if not appealing, at least not revolting. So we have we're still working out the kinks on that, but yeah, we're going to be able to show, because
Hmm.
it's actually kind of like I always enjoy when we have JD on. You
Yeah.
can see the fun that we have and
Yeah.
interaction and that happens when we record with him from Ottawa. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's going to be changes coming, and again, as you say, share it with your friends and anyone that's listened before.
Yeah.
b2bwr.ca is where you can find all of the
Hmm.
information, how you can find us, the best way for you that's most comfortable for you to hear the content. It's available and will be available on multiple platforms. So it becomes easier. You can watch it when it's or watch
Yep.
or listen to it when it's convenient for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen to it in the car through multiple platforms
Yeah.
on request, and so that's going to be a big opportunity for us. But I'm really excited that we get to keep telling stories
Yeah.
of that are important for local business, important for the community.
Yeah.
And then things like the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation, of all the important things they're doing for the community, the important work that the Workplace Immigrant Network is doing of Waterloo Region, in connecting business with talent and the workforce of the future. Those are really
Yeah.
important things for business broadly and for the
Yeah.
community broadly.
And just to remind everybody that for 16 and a half years, you folks, you need to understand, we've been doing this for nothing. We've been
Yeah.
providing this information. We don't get compensated for this, but we certainly hope that we provided you with not only information but entertainment along the way. And I can
Yeah.
guarantee you this: the reason why we've done it so long for nothing is because we have a lot of fun doing it, and
Yeah.
and we're going to keep the fun coming. As you know, Ian, you talk about it all the time. The wonderful laugh that JD has,
Oh,
and it doesn't take much to get him laughing, but we're going to keep him laughing and keep us all laughing, and hopefully, we keep our listeners laughing as well.
yeah. Yeah. If you get a chance to watch it as opposed to just listen to it when we get going, you'll fall in love with JD. He's got the best. He's got the warmest, most authentic smile I think I've ever seen, and it's a
Yeah.
great laugh.
Yeah.
And so you'll be able to see the fun that we have with all our guests, really, but
Yeah.
in particular with JD. Okay,
Let's get to the business of
okay,
business to business.
let's do that. So stick around for more business to business coming to you, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation. We're going to take a break, take care of our partners and sponsors, and then we'll be right back with more on business to business on b2bwr.ca.
The Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation is innovating healthcare every day in the Waterloo region. It is our collective responsibility to support our hospitals so that they can have the equipment necessary, not only to care for us, but to inspire the best and brightest healthcare minds to come and make a home right here in the Waterloo region. You may not need them today, but there will be a day when we all do. Reach deep if you can and give generously.
This segment of Business to Business is sponsored by the Workplace and Immigrant Network of Waterloo Region, a project by the Workforce Planning Board of Waterloo, Wellington, and Dufferin, bringing employers and employees together.
Welcome back to Business, found on b2bwr.ca, and it's powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation. And Gregory, we talked about how we got here and on the new and improved business to business.
Yeah.
But what's old is new again. We often will have one of our conversations on a weekly basis about the moronic imbecile that is in the White House. And of course, we're talking about the stupidest man ever to be elected to office, maybe anywhere, but certainly to the presidency, who the latest in our trade saga is in the midst of a war that he can't end in the Middle East with Iran. The Epstein files are still all abuzz, and it's an existential political problem for him in Washington. We have Ukraine and Russia. Now the Ukraine is really making very significant damage against the Russian oil sector, putting pressure on oil prices, gas prices, inflation, because gas and transportation affects everything. We are just into an actual perfect storm of bad news for the global economy, to which Donald Trump decides that this would be the opportunity to impose on a very eclectic group of goods 50% tariffs on a basket of goods, Canadian goods. I don't even know where to begin. The stupidness it just, none of this makes any sense if you want to repair and expand and have economic growth for his own country, let alone anyone else. But he's actually doing more damage to his own country and his own business sectors by imposing taxes on our goods because we don't pay for it.
No.
Like, reminder, want to just alert folks, tariffs are paid by Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I just don't even know where to start today. I'm so well, I shouldn't be shocked, but it's alarming that no one in his administration knows how much damage he's doing to his own economy.
And I think what is a little bit concerning is that he has obviously the biggest platform, other than this past week where he wanted to have a message from the White House, and the only network that aired it was Fox, and nobody else would air it rightfully so, because they're not quite sure what the content was, and the president does oftentimes say things that aren't based in fact. But the problem is he stands at the podium and literally spells out information that is drastically false. So the whole premise behind the tariffs in the first place was to encourage manufacturing to move back to the United States. The fact of the matter is, since 2024, manufacturing jobs are down by 91% since 2024. So that the increase that Joe Biden, that was under Joe Biden, that manufacturing were expanding or opening up new opportunities in the United States, that fell by 91% since 2024. So his policies of tariffs aren't moving manufacturing back. And the reason they're not moving manufacturing back is because when you impose a tariff on another country, it costs your country when they need products from those other countries. So we were having a conversation before we started to tape this segment or run this segment, that aluminum, for instance, there's a tariff on aluminum. Well, the United States gets all of their aluminum basically from Canada. And now all of those companies in the United States that require the aluminum they get from Canada have now got to pay a tariff on that aluminum, which makes absolutely no sense. He's not helping American businesses to expand and grow and create more opportunity. He's hurting them from being able to do that because he's taking money away from them.
And on that, I think it's important is, like, they don't produce. They basically do not have a domestic aluminum
Right.
sector because it takes so much power, and that's one of our unique strengths is we have enough power to run and produce aluminum.
Yep.
So the amount of aluminum that U.S. supply or U.S. buyers have said it's too expensive, can't buy it. 78% of what would be in our case, because people aren't buying it, could have been a glut of extra product. 78% of it's already sold.
Yeah.
And we've sold it to Europe and Asia for the growth of the things that they need in aerospace and in defense spending, etc., and consumer products. There will always be room for the things that we are uniquely prepared to do.
Yeah.
Steel, aluminum, wood, a lot of our rare earths, minerals, oil and gas. There's a market for them that doesn't necessarily have to be the United States. And I think we got complacent that they were our only market. They got complacent thinking that that they were our only market. Neither of those things is smart or true.
Right.
And I think we're starting to see that what's happened here is, and this is where I was on a radio station doing an interview this week, Greg, and as I thought about it, I said, and after the announcement of all the 50% tariff on this, and it's a 15-page of, like, I forget what was on it, but there's things like Christmas decorations and
Yeah.
natural honey and tortoise shells. I noticed one. There was actually one that says tortoise shells, and I'm like, okay, you know what? You think you're going to win big by adding the tortoise shell industry as being subject to a 50%
Yeah.
tariff. So it was all bluster because they know they need a deal.
Yep.
They know they need a
Yep.
deal. He needs a win. He needs the economy, something to kind of politically to have a win, but also to get the economy up and running again because it's being battered by oil prices, by foreign wars, and it's just it was mind-boggling. But I say, like, Donald Trump is the stupidest person to ever be in the
Oh,
White
for
House,
sure.
and he thinks that in applying this pressure, and it will hurt some Canadians. I'm very sympathetic to that. I'm now firmly of the view of, if these sorts of punitive, harsh things, then the government should be, how do we support those businesses in the short term? Because this cannot last long for that long for the United States. Yes, they're a bigger economy, but the political pressure is mounting. But this is something that is so harmful to their own country that it can't last for that much longer. And I think we have to say, I will repeat this, and we said this right from day one when he got in, is no deal is better than a bad deal, because once we sign it, we live with the consequences forever. And so if we capitulate now and get on bended knee and say, please, sir, make it stop, just understand that not only our generation, the next generation and generations to come will feel the wrath and the consequence of what we agreed to. So we got to be very careful about when we strike a deal.
I think you're exactly right. That's the whole point. Carney is taking a tremendous amount of criticism right now, for not maybe stepping in or having made a deal at this point. Well, yeah, in order to make a deal, you got to have two willing parties. Donald Trump was playing some games here, cut off negotiations, didn't want to, because of how we treated the American businesses, where we took the alcohol off the, where Canadians were shopping and being cognizant of where the products that they were buying were from, and trying to buy Canadian rather than American. And businesses have been complaining to Donald Trump. I think the spirits and wine business in the United States is down $355 million because of the fact that Canadians aren't buying it. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe we drink too much. I'm not quite sure. But the fact of the matter is, they're hurting and they're complaining to Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is getting the wrong message. These spirit producers and alcohol producers in the United States aren't saying to Donald Trump, apply punitive damages to Canada. They're saying, cut a deal with Canada so that we can start selling our products again to them. That's what they're saying to him. And he comes out and says, well, okay, I'll teach them a lesson. I'll put 50% tax on hockey sticks. I'll put 50% tax on raw honey. Like all of these things that in the end of the day, it's, you had mentioned something around 5%. It's actually probably closer to 1 or 2% of all of the products that are exported to the United States have now received an additional 50% tax, which is
because some of them,
completely ludicrous and ridiculous. But it's a measure of him trying to flex his muscle. And I think, quite frankly, if Canadians think that the smartest thing to do would be to capitulate to that moron, the problem is that will haunt us forever. What we need to do is stand up. What we need to do is really to look at what Carney's doing and saying, yes, we do need to look to other avenues to sell our products and services to around the world. We need not to rely solely on the United States anymore, but we need to be strong throughout this period of time. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a deal that we, in the long term, don't want.
Well, and I think the part is, as they quote euphemistically say, and Jameson Greer, who's the U.S. Trade representative, basically, I guess, sort of leading the negotiations, because no one really leads the negotiations. Is really what Donald Trump wants will eventually happen. But they talk about the trade irritants, and the Buy Canada is at the top of that list. Going, well,
Yep.
what would you have us do? I mean, it's so obtuse and myopic to say, "Oh, geez, you're buying Canadian," and then the spirits and liquors, being saying we're not selling California wines and Kentucky
Yep.
bourbon and whatever else. We're saying screw you, like we're taking them off the shelf, and they now put that as Exhibit A of we're not being fair on trade. Well, it's better than, and I think uh, Premier Ford may do this for the shock value. But boy, Canada could inflict some serious damage to the U.S. economy,
Yep.
frankly, and the global economy, if it ever chose to say, yeah, you know what, we're just not selling gas and oil to the United States.
Right.
We're not selling potash. We're not selling uranium. We're not selling nickel. We're not selling rare earth and minerals. And we're not going to be selling extra electricity into the U.S. Northeast.
Right.
I think that would be a serious escalation beyond what we should do. But make no mistake that we have some cards that could
Yeah.
and thank God we've chosen to say, let's vacation at home. Let's not buy
Yep.
Kentucky bourbon or
Yep.
California wines. And they are feeling that. But I think you're right, is trying to leverage up their position in advance of now saying, oh yeah, let's really escalate the negotiations. That's what this latest round of tariffs is all about.
Yeah.
I actually think that maybe the worst, the worst comes before the storm. Is he's getting ready, and he's going to have to claim victory. And this is what. By the way, in parentheses, Greg, I've been meaning to get to this whole thing around the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying, well, did the prime minister lie about him? Think, you know what? He basically tried to give them, some sort of a win without really giving much of a win. And
Right.
it's all very confused. Is it net out of the net profits? Canada's made clear. The one thing that is clear is they are getting the cost of building the thing before they share any of the
Right.
toll revenue. But the fact is, okay, it wasn't his deal. You're basically dealing with a gangster. You're dealing with a mafia kingpin
Completely.
who's now saying, I ain't letting you cross your goddamn bridge
Yep.
until you pay me some payola.
Yep.
And people are going, well, he should have just held firm. Okay, you want to have a $6.2 billion bridge that's not open and ready to go?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is no negotiating here. We know that the economic benefit of having that bridge open and moving goods over between Detroit and Windsor faster makes sense. You're not dealing with a rational actor. So
No.
you make the best deal you can. And this is what frustrates me about this, of saying, remember who the idiot on the other side of the table is, a toddler having a temper
Yeah.
tantrum permanently.
Exactly.
I'm not, I was saying when I was raising my kids, if they were throwing and saying, I'm not negotiating with terrorists, I can win that battle as a parent. We can't win this battle with Donald Trump by ratcheting it up. So we have to apply the pressure where we did. And to things like get the bridge open. It's more important than the ephemeral, what were the specific deals, and do we have to make some changes? Like, he's holding us hostage for one of the biggest border crossings in the world for goods, certainly in North America. And I keep here, on social media, there's chirping as if there's another option.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely ridiculous. I would think no matter who the leader of our country would be in dealing with this, they wouldn't be the leader very long if they capitulated to something that Donald Trump wanted. The
Exactly.
vast majority of Canadians don't want Mark Carney to go in there and fold the tent and give Donald Trump whatever. Mark Carney realizes that he may have to do some negotiations, but his interests are always going to be with Canada. And if it doesn't, I think you're exactly right. What happened here in the bridge negotiation was there always was a deal that 50% of the profits, once the bridge was paid for, would be split with Canada and Michigan. Well, now I guess they've agreed that the United States is going to manage that 50% and put it into some sort of economic development fund on the U.S. side. Well, that's fine. Go ahead, and maybe that even starts a little bit earlier, but because the payments towards the $6.2 billion are going to come out of revenue first. And if there's anything left, then they can start splitting the profits right away.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a big deal. So, if there's profits, but let me tell you, the payments on $6.2 billion is pretty hefty. I'm not sure the revenue. I think Mark Carney even said, look, there's not going to be a lot to split there in the very beginning. Maybe down the road once the bridge is paid for, but certainly not right off the top.
It is one of those things. I don't think either, like whether the prime minister is being fast and loose a little bit with what net means. The fact of the matter is we're getting paid back for a bridge that we front-ended that would not have been built if Prime Minister Harper hadn't done it. And we now have a bridge which is going to pay dividends for decades and decades to come. And it's sitting there ready to be open, and Donald Trump's holding it hostage. Whatever you got to do to get it open up within reason, which is, we want our $6.2 billion back. Do we have to, again, there's not going to be much left until the thing is paid off in 15 years. But this is the part where backseat drivers saying, "Oh, geez, here's what I would have done." If you're a federal leader thinking that you have some magical power to negotiate with Donald Trump, you're probably either not interested in being prime minister, which is probably what the NDP leader when he's chirping, or the conservative leader who's making himself look like he's uniquely unsuited to be prime minister, because there's lots of critiques that you could criticize the government on. The ones that he's choosing make him look, to most business observers, of saying, "Whoa, there's not many cards that additionally that the federal government could be playing that they're not right now. They're doing the best they can with a temper tantrum from a 2-year-old toddler who happens to have his finger on the fucking nuclear codes and everything else, right?" So, this is a moment for us to hold firm, be steady, recognize that there will be pressure on the prime minister or the president in his domestically to come to an agreement. So, anyways, this is why it's going to be important. As we can leave it there. When we come back next week on B2BWR.ca, we will have JD come back on and be able to kind of put some perspective of what they're hearing in Ottawa and sort of the international and the national aspect.
Well, if you want to get the straight goods on the new Gordie Howe Bridge, JD will have that.
Yeah, and the other is, I think we're going to reach out to our old friend Perrin Beatty, who has been I've been seeing him on social media. He will be, because he's uniquely connected to the business side of what's been going on. He was intimately involved in the last Kuzma negotiations. So we'll have the two of them on to kind of piece this together as we go to our, continue our new journey on B2BWR.ca, business to business on our new platform.
It's going to be fun. Yep. We'll see what happens.
All right. Until next week.
The Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation is innovating healthcare every day in the Waterloo region. It is our collective responsibility to support our hospitals so that they can have the equipment necessary, not only to care for us, but to inspire the best and brightest healthcare minds to come and make a home right here in the Waterloo region. You may not need them today, but there will be a day when we all do. Reach deep if you can and give generously.
Well, next week we'll have our experts from the foundation back again as we navigate our show forward. Business to business is always an adventure, not only for Ian and I, but for our listeners as well. We hope you'll continue to follow our journey working for businesses in the region of Waterloo. After 16 and a half years and over 700 shows on 570 News Radio, as we all know, that abruptly came to an end. That's okay. We have tens of thousands of connections and relationships in and around our region, our province, our country, and of course, the world. We have a platform, an audience, and well, we just like to have fun. Speaking of fun, Ian always says that we have faces for radio, and he spoke about this earlier in the show. Well, we'll soon have even more fun. We'll be introducing video on YouTube as well. So join in, laugh with us, learn with us, and let's influence this world we live in. Join us each week. Sign up and get notifications at B2BWR. That's B2BWR.ca. We would love to have you connect with us as well. McLean at greaterkwchamber.com or Greg at cambridgechamber.com. Give us some feedback. Ask us some questions. Recommend show content. We'd love to hear from you. So go right now to www.b2bwr.ca and listen to our latest show and sign up for all of them. That's all for this week's Business to Business show, always found at b2bwr.ca. Bye for now.